So let's bring in our buddy. Man, we haven't talked to Bill Schmid in a long time. Bill Schmid, courtesy of the Boxer and Girls and Guest Line. Of course, post-game with the Packers, 97.3 The Game, also 9 and noon. Bill, man, good morning. Good morning. We haven't talked to you in so long. Why do we have to talk on these circumstances?
Morning, boys. Yeah, we could talk, Bucks and Warriors one time. We could talk anything else. Instead, I'm fired up to be talking to you on the Friday morning before a playoff game, but I'm so sick and tired of seeing your football team in the postseason. So here's another one, the 10th installment. It makes sense that this is a NFL record. But the craziest thing is, guys, they've all happened in my lifetime, and I'm celebrating my 30th birthday in August. That's one of the craziest stats.
That is a crazy stat. Since 1995, and you guys were throwing in our ass when Shasky and I was teenagers.
Broke my heart.
Of course, we've had the last laugh over the last 4 times in the postseason. Well, Bill, there's a lot of confidence coming over from Green Bay. A lot of confidence. You got your D-line talking. You got some national pundits talking. A lot of confidence in this Packer team. How confident are you in this Packer team to come to Levi's and pull off the upset?
It's funny you asked me that, Bonte, because I'm going to convince myself. I've been joking about it all day on the show and all week, because last week I knew there was going to be a moment. It happens for every fan, right? Now you guys can be very, very confident because your football team's great. Team's awesome. I mean, absolute Avengers on that side when you talk about Trent Williams and just add in another freak show. Like the get off the bus dudes, that's 10 to 12 deep for the Niners, right? So that's an intimidation factor that you got to be able to warm yourself up for. But I knew I was going to convince myself they were going to beat the Cowboys at some particular point in time. It happened on Sunday morning. Laid a uncomfortable money line investment down on my team, rolling in, and as I was driving in, guys, I didn't understand why I felt so confident. But it's clear why. It's number 10. It's the signal caller, and it's the confidence that's emanated from him and this offense here in the last 10 weeks. Look, I love Devontae Wyatt's confidence. I love firing everybody on up. I think that's one of more, right, when Shafty's hitting those 15-footers and he's trying to warm up the rest of the team, saying, they can't stop us. They can't stop us. This dude's soft. He can't stop us. It's a little bit more trash talk to fire up their side, I think, more than to get in the head of the Niners, because that's a difficult task when you're talking about this outfit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, last time these guys faced, it's Jimmy G out there, it's Devontae Adams out there, it's Aaron Rodgers out there. Like, this feels very, very different. For the Niners, the biggest difference, and most people are going to say Brock Purdy, but I think it's also Christian McCaffrey. And I would argue Christian McCaffrey might be even more, of a difference maker in terms of changing what this offense looked like. How does your offense look different with Jordan Love and no Devontae?
Well, first, Joe, you're exactly right. I almost got laughed off a show that I was doing last night when I asked that question. Like, what is the biggest difference? It's clearly Christian McCaffrey. I thought more people would say Purdy, but he's such a difference maker, and it was such a clear and obvious decision for them to go and add him that it made all of us that have watched the NFL for the last 15, 20 years say, it just can't be that easy. You can't just add the best running back to the best running team and it just work. It just doesn't work that way. Well, it did. And he's been the best offensive player since he's joined the 49ers. And it's completely reshaped what they look like when Elijah Mitchell had to be the guy in 21 coming in here. And he ran on the Packers. Don't get it wrong in that playoff game. But McCaffrey's a different beast. The Packers offense with Love, the biggest difference, guys, is absolutely he's slinging it around and he's making exceptional decisions for a guy making right now his 20th start. It will be on Saturday if you include the one-off that he had in Kansas City. Their playmakers on the outside are different than they've been, definitely than they were a year ago. You mentioned Devontae Adams. He's exceptional. They also had Alan Lazard as their number 2, skeletal remains of Bobby Tunyon and Mercedes Lewis at the tight end spot. And they've cashed that in for a 2nd and 3rd round pick at tight end in Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, who have both become difference makers throughout the year. One had a lacerated kidney and is finally coming back, but went and scored his first touchdown there. And the speed of the Jaden Reeds, Dontavian Wicks on the outside, these are rookies who are producing big time for them. They've got more speed on the outside, I think, consistently up and down the depth chart, Joe, than they've had in a couple of years. And when you got a guy who's just making the clear and obvious decision throughout his progressions, not maybe doing a little bit more hero ball that Rodgers would do, and let's be honest, a lot of times it worked. There's a reason why he's going to go down as one of the best to ever do it. But there is something, as Bosa joked about this week at his locker, there's something to having a guy just run the offense and be able to put the ball in a playmaker's hand quickly and see what they can do with it.
Bill Schmid here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, courtesy of the Boxer and Girls and Guest Line, host of the 9 to noon show on 97.3 The Game out there in Wisconsin. Bill, how refreshing is it to kind of move away from Aaron Rodgers? Because from afar, Sask and I have had this conversation for the last 3 years. Boy, when they move off Aaron Rodgers, I think Love can be good, but how refreshing would it be for that locker room? It feels like a cloud is lifted from afar. You tell me, you're around the Green Bay Packers every single day. How refreshing is it to not have to worry about number 12, whether or not he's going to step away from the game? All his little cryptic tweets, him not working out the wide receivers. It does seem like everybody has been refreshed and rejuvenated from not having number 12 around.
Oh, 100%. And Bonse, it's difficult for me because I've loved watching Aaron play for so long and enjoyed him deciding to be a little more open with his personality because he had been very reserved. And for the first 12, 14 years of his career, everyone looks around complaining and saying, well, the guy just give us something. Is it always cliche? Is it always cookie cutter? Then the last 3 years, he's said, hold my beer. All right, I'll change it up real quick on you on the conversation there. And so for the last 18 months of his tenure here, it was obviously very tumultuous. I was in the camp of hold on to him as long as possible because as much as I hoped and thought that there could be a potential that Jordan would be able to be your guys' version of Jeff Garcia, nobody talks about Jeff Garcia being a Pro Bowl player after it was Montana to Young. You can get a guy to be able to play the position and keep you competitive, but I just didn't know that was going to get reincarnated. However, the refreshing nature, like you mentioned, has definitely been a breath of fresh air in the locker room. And with the youth that they've got so many players that are under the age of 25. It's difficult for a 38, 39, now 40-year-old dude to just be able to relate to those guys on a personal level. And I think today's athlete, the younger the athlete, the more personal the connection kind of needs to be, right? We're seeing this more and more in college football and in pro football. So the relationships are different. The people are a little bit different. And he definitely became a little different later in his career. So that was a concoction that had to leave the building, albeit fantastic play, and he will be remembered and I think at one point in time honored the right way. But right now, it was the right time for everybody to go their separate ways.
I think everybody in Ninerland is saying, if they want to have a big win, the Niners are going to need a big game from Nick Bosa. They're going to need a big game from Christian McCaffrey. If the Packers are going to win, pick a guy on either side of the ball that you think has to have a big game, and you can't take the quarterback.
Dang, Joe. I'd say Jaden Reed would be a big one. Now, he didn't have a catch last week in Dallas. If you would have told me on Saturday last week that they were going to win the game and put up almost 50 and he wasn't going to touch the ball, I would have laughed and said, you guys got to send some of that this way because it's not fully legal here yet. But there's a real recipe on the outside for them to be able to get busy. I think Aaron Jones is the easy answer, Joe, but they're going to have to be able to throw the football to win. So I'd say Jaden Reed and I'd say Christian Watson, who has not been fully healthy for a long time this year. He's now a full participant, no injury designation. So that's a big moment. But I'll be honest with you. I think the biggest recipe is, you said I can't say the quarterback on our side. I think the quarterback on your side is just as big of a turning point in this game and in what could be the next great decade of this rivalry in the postseason. I think it kind of turns on Brock Purdy here on the other side.
Interesting. We're up against it here. 30 seconds is left. 30 seconds or less, Bill. Why do you think Brock Purdy has so much pressure on him? Because nationally, we don't get it. He just broke the single-season passing yard record in 49ers history. Jeff Garcia, Joe Montana, Steve Young. It's Brock Purdy, number one. But why do you think it'll turn on Purdy?
The only reason I think that it's big on Purdy is if he doesn't get it done now, when does the clock start ticking? And when you look at on the other side, Shanahan swung for greatness with Trey Lance. I think Jordan Love is the Packers swing for greatness with like Trey Lance was for the Niners. Now, we didn't have to trade up as far, only 4 picks instead of 30 to go up and take that swing. But one team was in the NFC title game, one was in the Super Bowl, was getting close enough. So there's always that itch to maybe get a little bit better. And And I know that Kirk Cousins love from Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, no.
Hey, Bill,
Oh, no.
Bill, hey, Bill, man, look, the Niners visit Green Bay next season. We're trying to get up there to Green Bay, and if we do, we're all going to link up. We're going to have some beers, man. You've been good to us, and it's so refreshing to hear your voice, man. Niners and Packers again. I can't believe it, man. I still got flashbacks from the 90s, but a great rivalry in the playoffs. Bill, good luck to your team. Not too much good luck. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow at Levi's, though.
Can't wait, man, and appreciate you guys having me on. And Joe, congratulations, man.
Oh, you too, buddy. Back out.